Colin, thank you very much for doing this and giving up your time for this. Let's start with some misconceptions or perceptions of the ITI, right? So this is maybe not a misconception, but I think there's people out there who think that the ITI is quite a closed group that's, aimed towards more specialists and specialist focus. It can exclude implant dentists working with different protocols, and that it's a bit of a Straumann club. Is that something you're aware of?
This year's the 40th anniversary of the ITI. The origins are very much from a position of academia aligned with the industry. And perhaps we did develop down the routes of being a very driven as a specialist academic organisation. 40 years later, where we are, well, the bulk of the membership in the UK, GDPs, make up the bulk of our membership. So there has been an evolution of the ITI worldwide and certainly within the UK. Yes, I would say in the past, certainly when I joined the ITI, it was a bit more intimidating than it is now. It was very much driven towards specialist practice, perhaps hospital practice, perhaps more driven down academic and research routes. And these things are still very important. But in the time that I've been with the ITI, I have seen this evolution whereby there is much more emphasis now on primary care.
What about the kind of view that it excludes, or it's not really open to people who practice in kind of with different protocols, and it's kind of quite, it's more aimed at a very homogenous group of practice?
That's something that's often levied towards us. I can see where that comes from. Basically, what we do is we as an organisation, we're very focused on evidence. So when we have the consensus groups, consensus statements every 3-4 years, and we have our meetings such as the World Symposia, we're looking to filter out the best evidence, and on the basis of that evidence, we're going to develop and highlight protocols which come with the firmest evidence base. However, I'm also very aware of the fact that there's so much education out there now that we can't be blinkered and only discuss or reflect upon, or within our study clubs, view education that falls within the narrow parameters that might be acceptable to an ITI consensus statement. I think we have to be very, very receptive to look beyond the parapet, and we're doing more and more of that within the ITI. I mean, clubs are more divergent than they used to be.
I went to Rob Oretti and Stephen Chen's kind of back-to-back talk, which I thought was brilliant. So Rob talking about immediate implants and that approach, and then Stephen talking about the delayed approach as well, and that they both got a really warm reception at it. And I thought it was a really interesting way of learning. I'd love to see more things like that. Back-to-back lectures, giving different opposing views, because that's something we've not seen from the ITI as much.
It's often a misconception that immediate placement is something that the ITI will never endorse. And that's not true. I mean, there are protocols, there are occasions where we will advocate a type 1 protocol. If you're thinking of patients with thick tissue biotype, thick buccal plates, there may be cases where an immediate placement with a low smile line may be a form of treatment that is evidence-based. And these are things that we don't discriminate against. What we do is we look for the level of evidence we need to encourage us to, if you like, support these protocols, but we're certainly not resistant to discussing them. I saw the Rob Oretti, Stephen Chen presentation. It was brilliant.
And I like the fact that they had a debate. I really enjoy that kind of form of learning, because sometimes you see one version and you think, well, that's the right way to do things, but actually that style of discussion that allows you to think and see the broader picture sometimes. No,
totally. And I think that's, we did an event recently for the Young ITI, and we did a case discussion with myself, Matt, Roper, Timur, and Charlotte, and Owen O'Sullivan. And I think from the feedback from the day, this is where the part the delegates enjoyed the most, was putting a couple of cases up, having 4 or 5 people, some oldies and some wisies, sitting around with a cup of tea and discussing the various ways you can manage a case or treat a case. I love these case-based discussions where you have different people with different opinions.
With the ITI, what's the aim of the ITI now? What does it stand for, and what's it actually aiming to do? What's the point of it?
Well, that's a good question. We're primarily there to disseminate knowledge and develop information and distribute information. The crux, I think, of the answer for that, for me, would be community. I think the ITI has to offer a community whereby people can relax and discuss and share knowledge.
And with coming back to education then being one of the aims, what kind of educational content does the ITI deliver? What format? So you mentioned you've got study clubs, you've got annual section meetings for kind of layman's terms. That's another day's conference, isn't it, really? Of education. Yeah. Well, what else does the ITI do?
The primary focus of education is the study club. Study clubs are basically an educational program that is driven and dictated by the members of that club.
Yeah.
So if I'm a director of Glasgow and one of the members says to me today, I really love Dipesh Khatari, can we have him come and speak to us on GBR or social media or how to restore a free unit bridge? I organise that meeting. Number two, I think the greatest asset we have is the ITI Academy, which you'll be aware of, and I hope many people are. It's an online resource which is all-encompassing in the aspects of surgical and prosthetic implant dentistry. The resource is phenomenal. Even, whether you're experienced like us or a newbie to implant dentistry, there is a learning pathway that's applicable to everybody at the stage of their own educational development. So that's a fantastic resource. We have World Symposia, great. They're fantastic events. You can travel to Geneva, Singapore, or wherever you're going to go. National meeting, we have what's called the annual section meeting, which has been renamed now the education event, because it did imply it was like a committee meeting, which was a bit clear perhaps some people that didn't know. We've got a women's group, Women's ITI, under Nicola Cross. They were set to launch, they're going to aim to represent female implant dentists. We're turning out 50% plus female graduates, and we've got a membership in the ITI of 17% female. So clearly there's an issue whereby there's a barrier to access for implant dentistry for female dentists, and our women's group has the intention of embracing that challenge. This is to launch at this current meeting. And we have the Young ITI, which is under Taylor, as you know, and they run events twice a year, free of charge for members, to provide content at a more standard level, not more advanced or complex, more looking to help the newbies to implant dentistry. And that's invaluable. I have been at most, if not all, of these events, and I think the level they educate at is ideal for people who are new to implant dentistry. And you add in the Biannual magazine, the Flora Implantologicum, the treatment guides, there's so much there.
Right. So if we talk about, we've got the treatment guides, we've got the World Symposium, we've got the online academy, we've got the annual section meeting or educational meeting, we've got the Young ITI event, and then we've got the study club. And that's all included in the membership fee, is it?
The only charges you'll pay will be if you, let me reflect upon this, you'll pay a charge to go to the World Symposium, it'll be discounted for a member. The annual meeting is free of charge. The speaker event, if you're an ITI speaker, is free of charge. Study clubs, free of charge, all included in the membership.
So the cost of joining the ITI, I had to have a look this morning, is about £290 for a year, and all of that.
So it's based upon the currency exchange rate.
Yeah. For me, I mean, if I talk about myself in the ITI, I think through the study clubs, I've met kind of colleagues in my area, which has been great for me. It's allowed me to kind of take these protocols that I know as I'm learning the ropes still, I know what I'm doing is kind of evidence-based, but also safe practice. And then even as I'm starting to kind of get into teaching and speaking a little bit more, I've found the speaker development days really, really good. So, that's another little benefit as well for me. So I think it's helping me lift me up in my journey, take the beginner to someone more.
It's interesting you say that. My friend and colleague Farhan Ahmed, Farhan joined the ITI a couple of years ago. Right. His first event I think he came to was Speaker Development Day. Yeah. And I think Farhan fed back to me from that event, this was something completely new. This was not just an event aimed at doing tissue level implants and how you place them. This was something a wee bit beyond.
Absolutely.
People would expect the ITI to deliver. Yeah. So Speaker Development Day is certainly a useful event.
And one of the questions I wanted to ask you, as somebody who's kind of still right at the beginning of kind of my journey in implant dentistry, what do you think makes a good leader? What's good leadership to you?
Wow, great question.
Yeah.
I'm always been really fascinated by what factors apply to make somebody a strong leader.
Yeah.
I think it's multifactorial. I think in the context of being a chairman of a group like the ITI, it's a wee bit like being, I suppose, the manager of a football team. You know, you've got a lot of talent around you. You know, I love the video of half-time in Cardiff when Real won the Champions League when they beat Juventus. There's a video, you can find it on YouTube, where at half-time, Zidane brings the players in at half-time and they form a circle around him. But for 10 minutes, he tells the players how great they are, how they have the capacity to win this game, that they should go out and play to their strengths and enjoy it. And of course, the rest is history. Real won the Champions League, beat Juventus and Cardiff. He also has the ability to juggle egos and juggle talent and deal with people who are far superior as players than most people would ever have to deal with. So the ITI, I think, we have a membership that contains clinicians that are far better than me.
Okay.
People who have achieved far more than I will ever achieve.
Mm-hmm.
We have people who are leaders in the profession, leaders in research. We work with colleagues in other nations that are breathtakingly inspiring. As the chair of our section, I think that the key of leadership is to allow everybody to develop their talents in such a way that they can work without fear or inhibition, but also remain connected to the core principles of the ITI. My role is just the guy that won an election to oversee and be the point of contact. So I think for leadership, you have to be aware, you have to be present, you have to be respectful, you have to give support to your team. You have to be able to take the bad when it comes at you. You have to take criticism, not react in a way that's personal or unnecessary. And I think you should be very respectful of the fact that all you are is somebody who's been elected. You're not a superior human being. You're not any better than anybody else. All you did was win an election. You're the custodian of the membership.
What is the relationship between the ITI and the ADI?
We hate each other. No, kidding. The relationship at the moment is two different organisations. I'm a member of both. I belong to the ITI, I belong to the ADI, I've been a member of the ADI for as long as I can remember. The ADI has a different mission statement from the ITI.
Okay.
So I think there are many similarities between the two organisations, and there are some differences. Each, I think, has benefits. The benefit to me of the ADI is a larger organisation. I can meet a lot more friends and colleagues. ITI, I think, provides more educational content through study clubs, higher density, higher concentration, more events. The ITI's academy, I think, is a very strong element of our membership. I don't think there's something equitable on the ADI platform.
But at the end of the day, they're both organisations that are trying to progress implant dentistry, and
I work with Abid Fakir. Abid was the immediate past president of the ADI. And there was one day we were sitting at lunch and the two of us had been on our phones for about 45 minutes. ADI business, ITI business. And at the end of lunch we went back to work and he said to me, when we started implant dentistry, this level of education just didn't exist. Whether it's ITI or ADI, the volume that we provide on both sides and the concentration on both sides is so much greater than it was, 20 years ago. And Abid said to me, the members of both are lucky because we're putting so much in to make education available for them. And that's, I think, if I'm going to say one thing about the relationship, it's we have so much in common because we've got this committed passion to education. We might not always agree, but we have the same commitment to being good.
Brilliant. Colin, thank you very much for your time.